The thing that makes being creative so irresistible is that feeling of turning nothing into something. You start out with just an idea, and then you put in the work, and then there's a thing. But in some cases, the thing you create isn't really a thing until at least one person shows up for it. And sometimes that one person who shows up and makes your thing a thing is a goth. Alright, so I'm going to tell you that story while I draw Sienna Langone. She's at Yamasden on Instagram. Great illustrator. Check it out, links below. When I first got out of high school, I ended up in community college. And if you're not familiar with the concept of community college or junior college, it's basically high school but with ashtrays. I don't think I wrote that joke. That might even be considered a cliche joke, and I apologize. Anyway, I took this art history class. It was like contemporary art. And the girl who sat in front of me, she had like a trench coat that she had painted Peter Murphy onto the back of. So I would check out the slides and hear the stories of this art, but also Peter Murphy would be staring at me the entire time. Eventually I got to know this girl, and her name was Dawn, and she was cool. We talked about, art and comic books and goth music and whatever. Well, flash forward to, 15 years later, I was working at this gallery. The owner had like studio space where he would do his paintings, and sometimes he would have classes even. And he said, there's these nights of the week where nothing's going on there, and if you want to do something, if you want to just paint there, if you want to have a class, it's open for you to do that. Well, that was nice of him, and actually I had been thinking of doing something. When I was in art school, there was these open sessions where you would just show up and draw from a model, and there was not really an instructor. I loved to do that with the costumed and clothed models. You're drawing a character that way instead of just a naked person. I had shown up for some drawing sessions at small studios where they would do like nude drawing sessions. And that's just kind of gets boring for me. And so I liked the clothed and costume stuff. And I thought, well, why don't I just do that? And I'll do it the way I want it. And there won't be any bad music, it'll just be good music. No Van Morrison. So that's what I did. I put together like a logo and a name for the thing, and I put out flyers throughout town. The thing that I didn't have was a model. It's very hard when something isn't a real thing yet to have that legitimacy to make it feel safe and cool for somebody to show up and model for something like this. But there was this girl who worked at the gallery sometimes, like unofficially. She was off the books and she would just come in and help. But mostly she was this owner's model. She was like his muse. She may have seemed a little odd to me, but she was enthusiastic about the idea of modeling for my thing that I was putting together. And I wanted it to be like kind of rock and roll and free-spirited at first, and so I said, just wear whatever you think would be cool, whatever you have in your closet that you think would be cool to draw. It's up to you. And I probably should have had more oversight. So a few weeks later, it's my first time doing this art session, and one person showed up to draw. Yep, it was Dawn from community college. Sans Peter Murphy jacket, but I still recognized her. We caught up for a minute, things were good, everything was fine, and then the model showed up. So she had sort of a Little House on the Prairie print dress, and the bonnet and the whole deal. Well, about halfway through the night, we take a break, and the model says, I have another change of clothes. Do you want me to do something different? And I said, sure. So me and Dawn caught up a bit while this girl went off and changed in the little changing area. She came back dressed like, I don't know, how there's like at the Halloween store, there's like sexy SpongeBob SquarePants or, sexy Ronald McDonald. Well, she was dressed like sexy construction road worker. She had the helmet and the safety orange vest, and then she had like a PVC vinyl skirt fishnets, and high heels. So I chuckled and was like, cool, let's draw. So then we drew her for a while in this outfit. And, with like a half hour left of the night, she goes, I have one more outfit if you want to see it. And I was like, cool, let's do one more. Take another short break. She went off to the changing room. And she came back out dressed, well, basically it was like a dominatrix outfit. But it wasn't like the dominatrix outfit that you could get like in the Soma district of San Francisco. It was like if you went to a Halloween store and spent like $45. So then she sits down on this chair and she had these things in her bag. They were like, I don't know, if you're old enough like me to have been around during the breakdancing days, we would cut the tops off of our tube socks and throw the rest away. And then the tops would be like little armbands, or we would cut other stuff into headbands. So she had those. She had like the tops of tube socks as bands. And she used one to kind of go over her wrists and imply that she was tied up to this chair. And this is not unheard of in drawing classes with a live model. They would do the best they can and maybe have a wooden sword or whatever. And then it's up to you as the artist to draw a real sword and make a real pirate, not somebody in a pirate costume. So that's what we did. We drew this girl in her dominatrix outfit and we drew her tied up. Well, about this point, the owner of the gallery and studio space showed up. And I remind you that this guy was my employer. This was a very soft-spoken, genteel personality. Never raised his voice. Never tell you no. You know, if somebody came off the streets and said, I'm, down on my luck and I need to get back on my feet, so I'm painting windows, and would you like some snowmen painted in your windows? This guy is the type of person who would say, yes, absolutely, you can do that. And then he'd come over to me and whisper, it's July, tell that man no. But he walked in and checked out what we were doing, leaned over to me and said, everything going okay? And I said, yeah. Well, he grabbed a couple supplies that he needed, and that was it. He left again. So that was the night, and Dawn continued to come to these sessions. The point of this story is I had an idea for a thing, and this girl, Dawn, showed up and made it an actual thing by being the first attendee of this thing. That said, the next day I went to work, and it was usually a lot of sitting around, not doing anything, waiting for people to walk into this gallery. You just kind of chat with the person you're working with. And well, that day I was working with the owner's wife, and she liked to talk. She was a bit of a gossip even. And she says, I heard things got wild last night at your first class. And I said, oh, you heard about that, huh? Oh, yeah. Beep. Was pretty upset. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Beep. Called her and said, how could you do that? How could you befoul yourself that way? I guess apparently this girl told the owner that it was my idea, that it was all me. I told her what to wear. I made her show up as a dominatrix. I tied her up. That is not true. That's not how it happened. And, somehow I wasn't fired, but I was always the guy who befouled the muse, Well, anyway, I'm wrapping up this drawing. That's the end of my story, so keep drawing, goths. We'll see you next time.